Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Rafael and I'm here to review the season 3 premiere, episode 1 of The Real Housewives asking all the other housewives a million questions, Ultimate Girls Trip Thailand. So we start the season off with the one and only Porsha Williams from The Real Housewives of Atlanta. She's about to film her confessional. She's telling the producer, so wait a minute, do I just sit here and look at you and not look at the cameras? Are we still doing it like that? The producer's like, yeah, that's how we do it. So Porsha, what exactly are you gonna bring to the show to earn your Peacock check? Porsha, she's so excited. She's telling the producer, well, I've been on The Real Housewives of Atlanta for all these years, so I could bring a lot. I went through everything, and it's really nice to see Porsha Williams back on the show. Like, I truly do miss her. She is just so much fun. She is so beautiful. She is glowing. She has that I'm going to steal your man and marry him type of glow. She just looks amazing. So then for some reason, she starts narrating who's going to be on the show. She starts off by saying, okay, so we're going to start off with The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. The cousins, Heather and Whitney, they have so much drama going on between each other. So then we head over to Salt Lake City. And if you watched the last season of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, you would know that they are not in the best place because Whitney, she went on this drunk rant trying to accuse Heather of putting out this rumor on one of their cast members, Lisa Barlow, that she supposedly sucks you-know-what for some basketball tickets. Heather, she didn't appreciate this, so what did she do? She body slammed Whitney against the window on their cast trip, and now we're here. So she's calling Whitney like, oh, I'm so excited, we're going on a trip, we're going with the best of the best, so everybody's gonna be wearing their best clothes. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, everyone's gonna bring their best clothing, so you do the same thing. But at the same time, Heather, do you not know that Giselle is also coming on this cast trip? Because if you're worried about somebody outdressing you, you have somebody beat, and her name is Giselle Bryant. Because we already know whatever she's packing in her suitcase is already questionable. We don't even have to look at it. So Whitney, she's telling Heather, Heather, I'm really excited for our first international trip, but I'm really nervous about Giselle. What if she comes for my marriage? I really want to get to meet her, maybe be best friends, but I don't know if I could trust her. You know what? I'm going to bring my teddy bear with me. And you know what's crazy? That this is technically Whitney and Heather's first international cast trip since they've been on The Real Housewives show. Like, it's been, 3 seasons? And they have yet to travel anywhere international on their show. The farthest they've gone is California, Las Vegas, and Arizona. That's it. And I believe it's because of their other cast member, Jen Shaw, who's a criminal. She was allegedly scamming elderly people out of their money, and they were doing a whole investigation on her, and she couldn't leave the country. So what does that mean? That the rest of the show suffers and they couldn't film anything outside of the country either. But now she's in jail, so now I wish them nothing but the best for season 4. Hopefully they go to Amsterdam, Australia, Mexico, anywhere. The world is your oyster. Then we head over to New York, and I've never seen a single episode of The Real Housewives of New York City. I've seen clips of the show here and there, but it just doesn't do anything for me. I know of Dorinda, Luann, Ramona, unfortunately. As for Leah, I don't know anything about her besides social media saying that she's annoying. So I'm just gonna see what she does on the show. So she's at home, she's getting ready with her mom. She's showing her mom her new Balenciaga sandals, and I'm looking at those sandals like, now, Leah, Balenciaga, you know those are the Lizzie McGuire shoes. Cut it out. Even her mom was looking at them like, wait a minute, are those worth $50? Like, Balenciaga saw you coming, Leah. Then we head over to Potomac, and I've said this before in one of my reviews, but since we're dealing with Peacock, I really need you to get it together and put a warning sign or a trigger warning right before you show us something that could be very damaging to the eyes or could potentially scare off the audience. Because the next thing you know, we pan over to Potomac, and I'm thinking, okay, we're about to see Candace. I'm so excited. Next thing you know, we see Giselle's house, and I almost jumped. I'm like, wait a minute, you can't be showing me that quickly. You have to ease us into that because I said it before, but her house, it's like the Three Little Pigs house put together. I'm like, what am I looking at? My eyes are just looking all over the place again. And I'm like, can we just zoom in into Giselle's room right away instead of looking at the exterior of the house? Like, we see Giselle and I'm like, there she is again. Just when we thought we wouldn't have to see her for a couple of months, she's right back on our screens. She's packing up or whatever. I don't even want to know what's in her suitcase. Next thing you know, she calls Candace. And okay, so just to get the timeline correct, because we all know how Candace and Giselle, how that whole thing played out at the reunion for Potomac for season 7. This was filmed right before the reunion, and it was filmed 2 days after Jen Shah pled guilty. So now it's so interesting watching Giselle be so comfortable enough to call Candace like nothing is happening between them at the current time. And she's just calling her like, hey honey, how are you? Are you so excited? What are you packing? Is that Chris behind you? Hey Chris, how are you? You know, just ignore everything I'm saying about you in my confessionals this season. You know, I miss you too. I'll see you at the reunion. Anyway, Candace, so what's going on? And Candace, she's just casually like, oh, hey, how are you? And I'm like, no, Candace, this fake ass conversation, because we already know how you feel about her when we showed up at the reunion. Like, obviously the Bravo check probably can't compete with the Peacock check. They probably told Candace, we're gonna triple your pay from Bravo if you could just play nice with Giselle for like a couple of minutes. And Candace, with this fake conversation towards Giselle, she tells her, hey Giselle, how are you? I can't wait to go on vacation with you to Thailand. I'm super excited. You fake ass bitch. Yeah, I got everything packed. I'm probably gonna be working on my next album on the plane there. Yeah, so you tried to ruin my husband's reputation. Yeah, no, I got everything packed. Everything is ready. I'm good to go. Just wait till the reunion. I got something for you. I'll see you there, okay? Mwah. Like, it was so fake. I'm like, okay, whatever. So then we head over to Miami. We see Alexia and her best friend Marisol, and she's telling her over the phone, hey, bro, how are you, bro? Are you excited to be going on vacation, bro? Because I am, bro. We're going to be broing every single day, bro. And honestly, bro, I'm finally glad that we're finally leaving Miami for a little bit, because I'm sick and tired of hearing about Lisa and this affair that her ex-husband had on her. Like, you allow that. You as a woman, you're pathetic that you allowed your husband to cheat on you. It's all your fault. He's an angel. I'm not sure what she's doing. She allowed all those putas to come into the house and take her man. Like, si era yo, mi esposo nunca me hiciera eso. Mi esposo nunca me hiciera eso. Pero in Thailand, we're gonna have a good time. Vamos a estar comiendo, tomando, peleando en la piscina. It's just gonna be a good time. You know what I'm saying, bro? Pero I don't know. Yo estaba pensando el otro día. Y I don't know. As the long-lasting OG housewives out of this cast, I feel like maybe me and you, we should get the best cuartos, like the best rooms. What do you think, bro? And when she said that, I started thinking, wait, is Marisol and Alexia the longest running housewives out of this cast specifically? I thought it was Porsha, but I don't know. I have to check that. But overall, this cast is pretty good. I mean, with a couple of tweaks here and there. Leah, I'm looking at you, but that's just because I really don't know her. I feel like Leah could have been replaced with Jennifer from the Real Housewives of New Jersey, and Whitney and Heather. They only got their spots because Jen Shah went to jail. Other than that, I feel like they should have been replaced with Lisa Barlow and Meredith, or Lisa Barlow and Jen Shah. That would have been interesting, because we already know that Jen Shah, she probably would have been crying every single episode. But I guess maybe when she comes out of jail in like 6-7 years, she could be on Ultimate Girls Trip season, 14? One by one, they all fly out to Thailand, and Giselle, she's the first one to make it to the villa. She's greeted by the concierge named Pepsi. And am I missing something, or am I forgetting something? Because why do some of the cast members know who Pepsi is? Was he the concierge to one of their previous trips? Probably, but if anybody knows, please fill me in. So he's showing her around the villa, and the villa is beautiful. It is huge. It has such nice views. The pool alone wins me over. I mean, it has a view of the sea, and the sea has clear water. Just everything about it just perfect. And honestly, I feel bad for the cast of Ultimate Girls Trip season 2. They had to stay at Dorinda's dusty house. Meanwhile, this cast gets a beautiful villa. And Giselle, you know Giselle was not looking at the views like, oh, I'm so grateful to be here. This is such a nice experience. You know she was really thinking, aw. Anyway, so who should I go after? Candace? Nah, been there, done that. Alexia? Maybe, but maybe me and her could be producers together. I don't know. Heather, yeah. I'm gonna go after Heather. You know she was not thinking about peace and tranquility at all. So then Alexia, she arrives second. They offer her a drink, a non-alcoholic drink. She was just like, oh, no, thank you, no, gracias. Yo quiero alcohol. So her and Giselle, they meet up, they hug. I don't think that they've ever met before, so they sit down to talk. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, evil and evil finally meeting together. So Giselle, she's telling Alexia, oh, so who are you looking forward to seeing? Do you know anybody on the cast? Alexia, she was just like, no, de verdad, no conozco a nadie. Not really. I mean, I used to watch the Salt Lake City Wives, so I know some of them. I know Heather, and I'm like, ooh. Was that shade, Alexia? Because she said that she used to watch Salt Lake City at the beginning. What happened? Because season 2 was pretty... Honestly, if anybody has not watched The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season 2, you're missing out, because that is one of the best Housewives season out of all time in a very, very, very long time. Season 3, I don't know what happened. So, I mean, I can see why she fell off. So I believe Whitney, she's next, and they did Whitney so dirty because, Whitney, she doesn't have it all together. And they just have her wandering all over like she's Dora the Explorer. She's just looking around like, where am I? Okay, I'm gonna go this way. Let me see, backpack. Where's my map? She looks all lost and out of breath and everything. And I'm like, oh, come on. Somebody could give her like a scooter or something, get her up the ramp. But she's struggling. Eventually she makes it. And you could tell that Whitney is very, very out of her element. And it's probably because her and Heather are the newbies, because their show is still kind of freshly new. So, she doesn't really have the connection like that to all of them. But you could just tell that she feels very uncomfortable and out of place. And I'm like, oh, so what happened, Whitney? What happened? Where's the energy that you had on your Salt Lake City Housewives? You're always in somebody's face over there. What happened here? Why are you all timid all of a sudden? She gets there. She greets everybody right away. Giselle, she was just like, oh, so we need to discuss Jen Shah. I'm like, Giselle, everybody's not even in the villa yet, and you're already trying to stir up some mess. I promise you, Giselle has nothing in her suitcase but one bathing suit, a pair of jeans, and a producer hat, because that's all that's on her mind. I mean, it's like she sees the cameras, and she's like, okay, I need to make a show. It's crazy. Whitney, she's all out of breath, and she's trying to talk to Giselle give me 1 second. Yeah, we need to talk about Jen Shah. But that's Heather. Give me 1 second. The woman hasn't even caught her breath yet, and Giselle is just jumping down her throat. But I mean, am I mad at Giselle for asking the questions? No. Not necessarily, because I want to know too. So they're all sitting down. Whitney just looks like she has diarrhea. She is so nervous. And then she finally says why she looks so nervous in her confessional. I'm excited to be here, but I'm really nervous because I kind of said before that Candace, I'm not looking forward to seeing her because she's not really my favorite housewife, honestly, because she always goes for the jugular. And I'm like, oh, so you're scared to meet Candace because you're 2 seconds away from being called low budget. That's why, Whitney. That's why she looks so petrified in the face. Speaking of Candace, she eventually comes in next. Giselle, again, I'm trying to understand where Giselle's mentality is. Either that or she's extremely delusional. She tells Candace, oh, Candy girl, how are you, Candace? Candy, I love you. And I'm like, again, no, it's just not working like that. Candace, she was just like, hey, bitch. I'm like, wait a minute, Candace, you watch those B words before you end up in the ocean. But Candace, she gives everybody a hug. Whitney, she's looking petrified hey, Candace. Hey, you want to share my teddy bear? Hey, I like you now. Meanwhile, in a sprinter van, we have Marisol, Porsha, and Leah. And I believe Porsha, she's just excited to be back on TV, right? She's just excited to, finally have a vacation and away from Simon, probably. She was just like, honestly, I'm just really excited to see everybody. I don't want to cause any drama. I'm not here with the beefs or anything because I'm just fans of everybody. I just want to have a good time and spend Simon's money. And that's it. Marisol, I think she's feeling queasy from the, the plane ride. And I believe she probably had a couple of alcoholic drinks. And Marisol, I said it before, but she needs to get it together because she's just constantly drinking every 5 seconds. And that could be pretty gross. Even at her confessional, and I know she said it at the reunion, this past reunion for Miami. Oh, it's part of my brand. I'm just promoting. But it's just no, it'll be different if you're promoting and there's water in the drink or whatever. But you're literally just, down in vodka every 5 seconds, it seems. Giselle, she jumps at Heather. Oh, hey, Heather. It's so nice to see you. So what happened with Jen Shah? Tell me what happened because she just pled guilty. So just when they were about to listen to Heather, Porsha, Marisol, and Leah show up and they start greeting each other and hugging each other. And it was just so interesting to see because typically we see all the housewives in their respective cities, but now they're all in the same place, hugging and talking to each other and trying to be messy. And I don't know, it's just so fascinating to me. Am I the only one that feels that way? But I believe Leah goes up to Heather and Heather, I mean, if you haven't damaged your image enough with the whole black eye situation on the third season of your show, you're definitely going to damage it even more this season because she goes up to Leah. You know, and Leah, from what we get to know later, Leah is a recovering drug and alcohol addict, allegedly. I forgot which one it was, but Heather, she goes up to her and she was just like, oh, so Leah, how are you going to stay sober with this group? And I'm like, Heather, I don't think that you should be asking those type of questions. And she said it so playfully, and I don't know if she meant any harm by it. I mean, it's Heather, but I don't know. It's just, you don't say that. And Leah was just like, oh, no, I'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. And I believe they started talking about the Jen Shah situation. Heather, she found out about the whole Jen pleading guilty 2 days ago, and then she had to fly out on this trip. So she's still processing. Giselle, she was just like, wait, so do you think that she was guilty? Like, why would she admit this now? Alexia, of course, she was just like, you know, honestly, sometimes when you're facing, 40 años, when you're facing 40 años, you know, you just plead guilty sometimes. It just, así es, las cosas. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, it just happens. And I'm like, of course she would say that, you know, with the men that she used to date, you know, drug dealers and people who went to jail. Of course she would say that. But Heather, she goes on to say that, oh, you know, yeah, it was a whole thing in our friendship. She told me right before she went into the courtroom, this, that, and the third, and I hope they got Peacock in jail and Jen is seeing that she's still being talked about to this day. But I believe Leah, she tells Heather, honestly, I just feel like you're always controlled by people who are, I believe, what was the word? Narcissistic. You know, Jen, she's narcissistic and maybe that's why she strung you along and she played you in the end. Heather, she was taken aback. And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess it's kind of tit for tat. You threw out the alcoholic comment in her face, so she throws this back in your face. And it's not like it's not true anyway. Heather, you have been dragged by Jen from season 1, season 2, and season 3. Even now, she's still like, oh yeah, I still kind of believe her. I'm still writing for her. And I'm like, why? Like, Heather, stop. And you know the other thing I don't like about Heather, that in her confessional, she kept downplaying herself and trying to like put herself down, thinking that it was cute, saying, oh yeah, you know, I'm glad that people are asking me things and I hope that they don't forget about me. And I'm like, okay, that was strike one. And then she said, oh, you know, I hope that my lack of fashions makes up in the humor department, like because I'm funny or my jokes or whatever. And I'm like, Heather, that's really not cute. Like, I'm telling you, like, her whole image is just about to be done by the end of this season. So Pepsi gathers everybody outside to do a prayer to the house that has spirits in it. The second that he said that, I would have been booking my Airbnb or hotel down the street because absolutely not. I would not be on the next Conjuring movie because there's spirits in this house and we need to be nice to them. Like, absolutely not. But Porsha, I believe she's the first one to do a prayer. I'm just wishing for sisterhood between all of us and no drama. I just want to have a good time on vacation with everybody. So then Giselle, she goes up next and her prayer is the complete opposite of Porsha. She was just like, well, I just hope that, you know, we get down to the drama if we need it. I'm like, Giselle, you just really don't stop, do you? Like, it's just drama in her head. Like, that is crazy. But I believe Whitney, she's the next one. And Whitney, she was just like, I'm praying for all my teddy bears and all my Barbie dolls back at home. And I'm praying for all our families. And I hope that we don't have any drama here. I just hope that we all have a good time and we bake a cake. And Giselle in her confessional, she did not like that. She was just like, huh? A newbie saying that she doesn't want drama? Not on my watch. She was just like, Whitney, stop. You've only been on your show for what, 2-3 seasons? Cut it out. I'm like, wow, Giselle, okay, fine. I guess she can't have her little prayer. Alexia tells Marisol in Spanish, eso lo siento adentro, which means I felt that in my soul. And then here comes Giselle. She really rubbed me the wrong way with her comment towards them because she's looking at them speaking a different language. And it was funny the way they put the captions at the very bottom and they said, oh, Giselle likes to stir the pot, as if that's what they were saying, but they weren't. But Giselle, she's delusional enough to believe that. And she tells them, we got a new rule here. No Spanish, no Spanish. We're only speaking in English. And I'm looking at Giselle like, who the hell are you to tell anybody what language they can or cannot speak? Like, absolutely not. If I was them, I would have turned around and I would have told Giselle, kiss my ass. Like, I'm not listening to you. Like, if we was to ask you, oh, can you please stay out of people's marriages next season? Would you do it? Probably not. So why do they have to listen to you? Eventually, they're like, okay, so Whitney, you're going to be hosting the first dinner tonight. Everyone go check out your rooms. And this is where production messed up by assigning rooms already. Typically, the housewives do it between each other by playing a game, fighting it out, or doing something. But no, they just got their own rooms already. And again, you missed out on having some type of good footage with that. So Porsha and Heather, they're running around through the villa. Honestly, each room is just equally as nice. All the rooms are nice. They run into this one room. I believe it's like a prayer room or something. But what does Porsha say? Heather, maybe this could be like my room to have an orgy in it. I'm like, of course, Miss Bolo. Don't act like we haven't forgot, Porsha. Just because you're not on the show doesn't mean we don't have the footage. But they're there, and then I believe Leah and Candace, they're checking out their rooms. Leah, she starts complaining already. Oh, why do I have this room? I have the worst room. And her excuse is, oh, is it because my show's not on anymore? I'm sorry, but that was hilarious because then I have to remember, oh yeah, the Housewives of New York, it hasn't been a thing for like, what, 3 years already? She's complaining to Pepsi like, oh, I'm going to pull a Ramona because Ramona on the first season of Ultimate Girls Trip, she fought for the Kenya's room and she was just like, oh no, this is my room. I was here first and that's that. So now she wants to pull the same thing. And I'm like, Leah, you're 2 seconds away from just having your baggage just thrown into the pool, Bad Girls Club style. So cut it out. Porsha and Giselle go off to explore the villa together, and Porsha, she's so amazed by everything. In her confessional, she thinks that Bravo is doing all of this to get her back on TV. And she was just like, wow, I can't believe this. Bravo really wants me to come back. They really know how to do everything right for me. And then the producers were like, for the last time, this is not Bravo, this is Peacock. And Porsha was just like, what? She's so adorable. And it's very interesting to see Giselle be so buddy-buddy with Porsha because typically we see her next to Robin 24/7. So I like seeing Giselle on her own. It just goes to show you that maybe she can survive on Potomac without Robin there. Maybe she should get the boot. But they're sitting down, Giselle. Again, she's not thinking about what they're about to eat, what she should wear, or, go into the pool outside, nothing. She just tells Porsha, so Porsha, there's some tea going on with Heather and Jen Shah. I'm like, my goodness, Giselle, like, I'm telling you, like, her Peacock check, she probably gets paid the most out of everybody here because, whew. Meanwhile, in Candace's room, she's with Leah, Whitney, she goes in there. They're like, oh, so what's going on with you and your cousin Heather? Because it seems like both of you are good again, right? Whitney, she was just like, well, the situation is me and Heather, we're good, but not really because, ever since Jen Shah, she pleaded guilty, she's always just been her best friend and she's not my best friend anymore. She doesn't even come over on Saturdays anymore to watch cartoons with me. So I'm a little hurt by that, but I don't care. I'm a big girl. So then Leah tells Candace, so wait, what's going on with you and Giselle? Candace BS because she tells her, everything is fine with me and Giselle. First of all, season 7 reunion determined, that is a lie. Like, cut it out, Candace. Like, she wants to, play this peaceful thing with Giselle. Like, oh, I'm moving on, because if I don't, I'm always going to be miserable, blah, blah, blah. But she's telling Leah, don't trust her with any of your business because she's going to put it out there to the tabloids, to everybody's social media. Like, don't trust her at all. And honestly, Candace, you should have helped her out a little bit more specifically. Like, you should have told Leah and Whitney, do not tell her how many houses you got. If you have a husband, hide him. Say that you've been single all your life. Like, don't say how much money you got. Like, your savings account has $5 in it. Like, don't say anything because she's going to get jealous and come after you. So Giselle and Porsha meet up with Heather in the living room to have a drink. Heather, she tells them, oh, maybe we should play a prank on Leah and try to get her drunk. And I'm like, Heather, you did not suggest that as a prank. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, that Leah is a recovering alcoholic, and you're just gonna suggest this as it's all fun and games? Like, even Giselle, somebody who has no boundaries on how low she'll go on this show, she even tells you, do you think that that's a little bit too rude to do to her? And then Leah, she walks in, Giselle, All she saw was a chance and opportunity because she took off her producer hat, she put on her bus driver hat, and she threw Heather right underneath the bus, and she ran over her a couple of times, and then she backed up a couple of times, and then she parked the bus right on top of Heather. She tells Leah, so Leah, what's gonna happen if you do happen to drink alcohol now? Leah, she says, as a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, it's gonna ruin my life completely if I do that. Giselle, she tells Leah, oh really? Because my friend here, Heather, you know Heather Gay, Heather from The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, she actually suggested that maybe we play a prank on you to try to get you drunk, but I actually told her, I think that would be a little bit too rude. Heather, she did not know what was coming to her. She obviously never saw a season of Potomac before because she was so shocked. She was just like, what? Like Lisa Barlow would never. Meredith, she would never. She was like, my cast members on my show don't do this. In the confessional, she was just like, wow, like, I mean, I know that this is like Housewife 101, but obviously I need to get better with my game because obviously she just threw me underneath the bus. And Leah, she's just looking at Heather like, Heather, what is wrong with you? Are you trying to mess me up? And then Heather, she doesn't make it any better for herself. I'm not even sure what the point was because she tells Leah, oh, well, I read your book. And then Leah says, well, if you read my book, you would know that I'm a recovering alcoholic and a drug addict. So what is it? And Heather, again, you look so foolish. You allowed you allowed yourself to look foolish. Giselle, she just added a couple of sprinkles on top because what kind of prank was that? Eventually, Heather, she walks away and then I believe they start getting some food from the buffet. Leah, she's a little upset and she tells everybody, I can't believe that Heather, she would try to pull a prank like that to try to get me drunk, knowing what I went through in my life. Whitney, Heather's cousin, of course, she wants to fit in, just like how she wanted to fit in on Salt Lake City with Lisa Barlow. She jumps in it and she was just like, well, yeah, that's how Heather is. Sometimes she plays like that and she could be a little bit too much and she just doesn't know when to stop. And I'm like, now, Whitney, I know you're not talking about when you need to stop about something because you never stop on your own show, so cut it out. But she does make a point though, because I mean, now looking back on it, specifically season 3, Heather really, she says a couple of questionable things, specifically with that black guy. And then she wants to play it off like it's just funny. And eventually they all sit down to eat, all of them. Marisol, she's a hot mess in her room. I don't know if she has like nausea. She's nauseous. And she gets up and she was like, hold on, I need a cocky. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna make a drink. And I'm like, Marisol, you really don't need a drink. Like, go get an Alka-Seltzer and some water and go lay down. Like, that's just gross. And then Alexia, she brings her down to the table. They're all sitting down. Giselle, she starts with Porsha. And I'm like, Giselle, cut it out because that's Porsha you're dealing with. That is not Karen Huger because she tells Porsha, I want to ask you something. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. Here it comes. I really thought she was going to ask Porsha, how does it feel to take your friend's husband? But we didn't get there yet. She asked Porsha, how was her Real Housewives journey from the beginning all the way up to now where she's not on the show anymore? Porsha, she goes on to give us her journey. She says, well, I mean, at the very beginning, it was a very confusing ride. I didn't have an Instagram. And then on my second season, I got a divorce. And there was a lot. I had to figure out how to monetize everything. And it was a nice, experience. But I never bite the hand that feeds me because I'm always grateful for the opportunity. And, that's something that is true about Porsha. She has never downplayed the show. She has never talked bad about any of the cities, any of the wives, besides Kenya. Unlike Bethany. Bethany has a whole podcast just trashing her, The Real Housewives of New York, right? I believe. But the focus gets put on Whitney and Heather because Porsha feels that there's something deeper going on between them. Whitney, she goes on to repeat the same story from season 3 by saying, well, there was a rumor going on around Lisa Barlow supposedly sucking dick for basketball tickets. And Heather, she's the one that said that rumor and I'm the one that repeated it. And for some reason, Heather got mad at me and I didn't do anything besides repeat the things that she said to me. And now all of a sudden she's Team Jen Shah 24/7. And I don't appreciate that because we used to play with our Teletubbies before. And now she doesn't even come over anymore and I have to be with my husband. And that's pretty unfortunate. Heather, she cannot believe the lies that Whitney is telling her for the 100th time. Again, it's like a repeat of season 3 of Salt Lake City, right? So Heather, she gives her side of the story. She says, well, Whitney, she decided to bring up these rumors and allegations and everything that Meredith and her heard supposedly at this basketball game when the whole whole thing was supposed to be about Jen. If we all remember, that whole trip was supposed to be for Jen, trying to give her some type of peace of mind because she was going through a lot. But Whitney, she decided to, kind of just take the whole thing and make it about herself. And that's what Heather was trying to tell her. Like, you made it about yourself. You chose this TV show over me and our relationship, and you wanted to put me on blast instead of the real purpose, which was Jen. Alexia, she jumped in it, and she was just like, you know what? Yes, I agree. I agree with this puta right here. I agree, because that's really effed up right there. If you really did that, Whitney. I'm like, okay, Alexia, relax. But yeah, I feel like, I said it before in my reviews, but Whitney's full of it. Heather, you're also full of it too. Everyone gets dressed up and heads downstairs to go to their dinner. Candace, she gets left behind at the villa because she's taking too long to get ready. So Giselle, she tells everyone, okay, everybody hop in the Sprinter vans, we're gonna go. And I'm not sure if Giselle was just trying to, poke at Candace and trying to get a reaction out of her. I'm not sure if that was her intention, but luckily Candace, she didn't fall for it. She said, yeah, I'll get there when I get there. I'm still gonna take my time and get ready. So in one Sprinter van, we have Porsha, Giselle, Whitney, and Leah. In the other one, we have Marisol, Alexia, and Heather. In Porsha's van, Leah is talking about Heather and how she can't believe that she was trying to play this prank on her, trying to get her drunk, knowing what she knows about Leah and her past with alcohol abuse. And Porsha, she's disgusted. She said, wow, that's really nasty. Like, why would she even try to attempt that? Leah, she was just like, wait. So there's more to it. Earlier in the day, Heather actually told me, oh, by the way, I kind of want to room with Porsha because she has 7 million followers on Instagram. So maybe those followers could also be my followers. And I'm like, wow, Heather. And then we see it in the flashback. And I don't know, Heather. I mean, after season 3 on your show, you were already looking bad in my books, but now you're looking like an opportunist as well. Like, why would you even say that? Even jokingly. You know that there's some truth behind that joke right there too. Porsha was just like, wait, what? She's trying to be famous? And then Whitney, you know that you're going through it right now with her, and she still decides to add salt to the wounds by saying, well, actually, Heather, she has a reputation of doing that. She wants to be like famous. She gets so happy when people want to interact me and her on Instagram, and me and her get into it for the whole bad weather title because that's our thing. So she gets happy because she gets a lot of engagement and she wants to be famous. What does Giselle say underneath her breath? She's not that famous. It's only been 3 seasons. Oh, Giselle talks a lot of shit. Like, Giselle, you were in their shoes at one point too. Like, let's not forget that your whole first season was about etiquette, and now look where you're at now. Back in the other van, I believe Heather, she's going on saying that, I think that her and Leah are in a better headspace because, she slipped up and she said the whole prank thing. She shouldn't have said that. She doesn't know what she was thinking. I honestly don't know what she was thinking either. And then Alexia made a good point because Alexia said, honestly, with Giselle, she asked a lot of questions, but she's never down to, talk about herself. We can never ask her anything. She doesn't really talk about herself at all. It's always question. And that's exactly what Giselle has been doing from the very beginning when she got to the villa all the way up to now. She's been controlling every little move on this show. And it's actually impressive, but it's also like, wow, like, damn, Giselle, like, stop. Eventually, they all get to the restaurant. They order their food. Candace, she shows up a little late, but she's not really upset that they left her. She sits down, and I believe this is where Giselle, she starts it up again. Or then again, she never stops, so she continues. She says, okay, so I want to play a game right now. Candace in her confessional, she says, well, maybe she just wants to play an actual game and she just wants to get to know everybody. And then she takes it back and she says, actually, no, she doesn't. She just wants to know your information so she could throw it in your face later on. And that's exactly what she's probably going to do. So she goes with Leah first. Leah, I met you on Project Runway. You were cool then, but today I kind of got a whole different side of you when you went off on Heather. Again, trying to get a reaction, trying to start something between them. I was really shocked that you did that, but for the most part, you're pretty good. Just like a domino effect, Leah wanted to ask Heather, why did you come up to me and say, oh, how are you going to be able to handle yourself with all these women here drinking, knowing your past? Heather, she couldn't come up with anything. All she said was, oh, it was a miscommunication. I don't remember saying that. I'm sorry if I did. I will never say it again. But again, Heather, it'll be different if you just said that and that was it. But then you wanted to play a prank on her involving alcohol. So it's just like, where's your head at? But eventually Leah, she wanted to get up. She gave her a hug. She said, that's all I wanted. That's it. Let's have a good time. And then we continued. I believe Alexia and Marisol, Giselle, she caught both of them talking Spanish again. And she said, excuse me. I said no Spanish. And, Giselle. Alexia looked at her and she was just like, what? What are you talking about? This is how we do it in Miami. This is how we talk. And yeah, that is how we talk, Giselle. Like, what do you expect? Like, sometimes the Spanish does slip out. Sometimes the English slip out. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, they're not going to be talking bad about you. And like Candace said, even if they are talking shit about you, we're going to find out when the whole show is wrapped and everything. I mean, even though Porsha said, oh, well, there's no reunion, so you can't confront them. But still, like, relax. You know, if anything, you talk a lot of shit in your confessionals as well. You talk a lot of shit in general as well. So what difference does it make? But Alexia, she said, look, it doesn't really matter if we're talking bad about you in Spanish or English. We're going to say it to your face regardless. And then in the confessional, her and Marisol had me dying because Marisol was just like, ¿de qué pasó con esta chica? Está loca. Like, cree que le estamos hablando mal de ella. No estamos hablando de ella at all. Like, Giselle is just paranoid, and the producers with the little captions basically saying, oh, Giselle is this, Giselle is that, when they're not really saying that. Candace thought that Heather was going to be boring, and honestly, so did I. When the first season of Salt Lake City came around, I thought, oh, is Heather really made for TV? Like, why is she on the show? But over time, I kind of saw her appeal, and she does have her comedic moments here and there, and her confessionals are sometimes funny. It's just this last third season of Salt Lake City really messed with her image, and she's kind of like spiraling down. And this show is not making it any better for her. So then I believe we move over to Whitney. This is where things get interesting because Whitney, she's sitting right next to Candace. By the way, everybody looks really nice in their dresses. Like, they all look really pretty. Whitney goes on to say, well, actually, the housewife that I thought I wasn't going to get along with on this cast, it was actually you, Candace. Everybody was shocked. Everybody was like, what? What? Candace? What did Candace do to you? Whitney explains herself by saying, well, I just didn't really appreciate how 2 seasons ago on your show that you and Ashley Darby were going at it and you were basically mom shaming her, and I just didn't really like the comments that you were using against Ashley Darby about her being a mom. So Candace, she explains herself that yes, Candace has thrown some words to her that, you know, were below the belt, but Ashley, she's no angel either. Ashley has also done the same thing to her and everybody else on the cast on the show. So, I mean, it's just like, what do you expect? And I know that she's talking about your big wide body ass or whatever that Candace said 2 seasons ago. And I remember even back then, I didn't agree with what Candace said, and I do like Candace, but I don't agree with some ways with the way she explains herself. But at the same time, Ashley is no angel. So it's just like, if you go below the belt with me, why can't I go below the belt with you? You know, it's just like, it's just a very sticky situation, especially given that, you know, Candace is trying to get pregnant now. Would she like if somebody used these type of terms on her, you know, vice versa? And I feel like that's what Porsha was trying to say to her when Porsha jumped in it. And Porsha was just like, wait a minute, because I feel like there was some change from Candace from now. Candace was like, no, there wasn't. Like, what are you talking about? And then Porsha was like, well, if you let me finish, I'll explain to you. Just listen to me first. And I'm like, what's going on between both of you? No, let's not do this. So Porsha, she explains, and she was just basically like, well, you know, I feel like Candace, she regrets what she said to Ashley about her body and about her being a mom, etc., back then. Now that she's kind of going through the same journey, she wouldn't appreciate these words coming back to her to haunt her. Candace was like, no, that's not what I said, and I'm not sorry for it. So Porsha's whole, you know, speech that she was going with, it just flew right out the window. Porsha was just like, oh, okay, never mind then. Let me know what you all think about that. And then I believe that's where it ends, because next thing you know, there's a bug on the table or something's going on. Next thing you know, I see Porsha, she's shaking her ass, and I'm like, Porsha, what are we doing? She was literally like, oh my God, there's a bug. Hold on. I'm like, Porsha, first of all, if you wanted to shake your ass, all you needed to do was just get up. There was no bug on the table. Eventually, everybody started running. I think they all finished their dinner. And then Heather, she goes over and she picks up the bug, and they're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And Whitney, her excuse is, well, we're from Utah. And I'm like, and what explanation is that? That's still nasty. But that was that. And then we get a little flash forward of what's to come within the next few episodes. I believe we have Candace versus Giselle. They get into it for some reason. And I believe Leah, we see her fainting. Everybody's going at Heather, calling her a liar for this whole black eye situation again for the 100th time. And I'm like, please, not this again. And that's that. I still haven't watched the second or the third episode, but when I do, we're gonna come back to talk about it on one of my reviews. But until then, let me know what you all thought about the premiere of The Real Housewives of Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3. I thought it was pretty good. It has a pretty good cast. I like the flow of it. And I think that's pretty much it. Let me know what you all thought about this whole first episode in the comments. Bye, everybody. Mwah.